Hey team, hope you're all doing well. So today's topic and question is 35 miles a week enough for marathon training? And as I always talk about in other videos, the importance of quality over quantity. Don't get so caught up in how much volume you're putting in. Look at your training and see what percentage of the mileage that you're putting in are you actually running at or below or near your anaerobic threshold. Okay, that's your body's lactate threshold. It's around 85 to 89% of your maximum heart rate. So you do want to do quality training. You want to do more quality training, but make sure that as you're focusing on doing higher intense quality training, that you're also focusing on the recovery period in between each one of your workouts. That is absolutely essential. It's not, we're already highly disciplined, motivated individuals. We want to, we're very consistent with our training, but a lot of times we get so caught up as runners with what pace we're running our workouts in, that we focus a lot of our attention on those easy recovery days. We're worrying about what pace per mile or pace per kilometer we're running at during those particular days. The time you really want to focus on running quality training is during those track and road intervals, your fartlek workouts, your hill repetitions, your long runs, those varied pace long runs. If you're new to the channel, I always preach this. Don't run long, slow, and easy every single weekend. Okay? The Sebastian Coe, the former world record holder for the 800 meter, the 1500 meter, and the mile, said it best. He said, I've always believed long, slow distance running will produce long, slow distance runners. Okay, so if you look at Sebastian Coe's previous training, he was very meticulous with his training. I mean, the majority of his training was spent running very hard, but also he would jog and run much easier during those easy days. So it is very important that you pay attention both to your training, your intense training, but also really focus on your recovery. So in terms of, is 35 miles a week enough for marathon training? I do think it is enough for the majority of athletes, but there are many athletes that will need to run more volume. Okay, you can still run 35 miles a week, which is relatively low for the most part for marathon training, but just make sure that you're focusing on how you're setting up your training. Are you trying to cram all of that into an 8-week block of training? That would be much more difficult for an athlete trying to do 8 weeks versus somebody that's trying to prepare for a marathon, say 16 to 24 weeks. Again, it's always important. It's very important to focus on a longer buildup than a shorter buildup, because again, you're not trying to, get into great anaerobic shape, which takes time, and versus if you're trying to do it over a longer period of time, your chances of success are much, much higher versus somebody that's trying to get in great anaerobic shape and really prepare properly for a marathon in a matter of 8 weeks to 12 weeks. Yes, you can definitely get in great aerobic and anaerobic shape in that amount of time. But over the years, and I've been running since 1992, all of the times I was preparing for marathons, I would always focus on a minimum time frame of 4 months, and most of the time my buildups were anywhere from 5 to 6 months. And usually after a marathon, I would always take about a minimum of a week off. Sometimes I would take even up to 2 weeks off with no running. So also make sure that you're allotting sufficient time for your body to recover from these types of races. It's not like a 5K or a 10K where you can really recover relatively quick. You need to be smart about your training and your buildup, how you're setting up your training, what paces you're running at each day. And like I said before, focus on the quality of your training over the volume. Okay, there are many runners that put in a great deal of volume, but they're still running too much of that volume too aerobically, and then they have problems sustaining their goal race pace in the race, and they start to second guess themselves. I've been there too. There were times where when I was a 2:43 marathoner, I debuted at the 2002 New York City Marathon. I ran 2:43:36, starting in last place for a charity, and but at the time, after just a few months after running that time, I was already thinking about breaking 2 hours and 22 minutes. I didn't realize at that time how difficult, one, running a sub 222 marathon time is. That's 5:25 mile pace for 26.2 miles. But to go from a 2:43 to a 2:22 is a massive, massive jump in ability. So you have to drastically change, which is what I did, drastically change up how you're setting up your training. Maybe right now your personal best is maybe 310 and you're trying to run 245. Or maybe it's at 4 hours and you're trying to get under 345. Those are big chunks of time, and you can definitely do that in races that are much longer. But a lot of times we don't realize the extent of the amount of work we're going to have to put in, and the anaerobic training that's necessary to sustain paces that are several seconds faster per mile or faster per kilometer, versus our previous personal best. So this is why I always talk about, the running courses I've created, the training plans I've made, the personal coaching I have with several athletes now. But a lot of the questions they're asking are the same types of questions I was asking. How much mileage should I be running? What pace per mile should I be running? What pace? How far should I run my long runs? In terms of the marathon, yes, 30. Like I said, is 35 miles miles a week enough for marathon training? I think for most runners, to start and finish a marathon or even really get into great racing shape, 35 miles a week is sufficient for most runners. But I think the faster you get and the more competitive you get, you are going to have to start focusing on higher volume as well as a higher percentage of that volume. You're going to have to really start focusing on training at or below your goal marathon race pace. Okay, you should be doing one VO2 max workout per week, one tempo run per week, and one long run per week, and not running long, slow, and easy every single weekend. Alternate it. Okay, run a varied pace long run one weekend, followed the next week by an easy, relaxed long run. That way, you're focusing on adaptation and recovery. The benefits are going to come from the rest. They're not going to come immediately during that particular workout. Yes, you have to train anaerobically. You have to go out and do 3 2-mile repetitions on the track, or maybe a fartlek workout where you're running 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy, 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy for 40 minutes. Or maybe it's doing hill repetitions where you're doing 10 to 12 200-meter reps up the hill all out and walking or jogging on the way down. You have to stress the energy systems of the body like that, but you also have to make sure that you are jogging on those easy recovery days so that, again, you can continue to bounce back and get a higher return on your time investment. Okay, there's only so many times you can stress the body hard and before you start to see diminished returns. So make sure that you get beyond, in terms of this question of is 35 miles a week enough for marathon training. 35 miles a week, as long as you're doing a high enough percentage, preferably around at least 15% of your weekly volume at your anaerobic threshold. The more competitive you are, once you get to like the elite type level, elite runners, they're running around 35 to 40% of their weekly volume at or close to anaerobic threshold effort. So these runners, they make it look easy for a reason. Okay, if runners that you're competing against are continually beating you, start studying what the best middle to long distance runners are doing and emulate those particular habits. Okay, find out what they're, that's what I've tried to really do at RunDreamAchieve.com in terms of the running courses and the training plans. I've tried to build those around the things that I was doing, the things that I was taught by some 3 world-class coaches and some of the world-class middle to long distance runners I personally trained and lived with. So I hope that those resources that are on the website will help you all speed up your learning curve, and you start getting new personal bests that you've worked so hard and put in so much time in order to get. So I hope this answers the question of, is 35 miles a week enough for marathon training? And I wish you all the best, and feel free to leave me a comment below. Any of my videos, I'll definitely reach back out to you. Like and share these videos. I definitely appreciate that. It helps more people around the world see these videos. And I will talk to you all in the next video.